Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Friday. And I'm back again. This again is not going to be a long one, not because I don't have anything to talk to, but I'm 14% into the new Neal Stephenson Nicole Galland book, and I am totally hooked, and I'm going to make this as quick as possible so I can get back to it. I have finished 3 books in the last week. I finished the Robin Hobb Assassin's Fate, which is the culmination of her Fitz and the Fool trilogy, which is the culmination of her Realm of the Elderling series that's been going on for, 15 years or something. This was a really heart-wrenching read. It really twists the knife. It's a beautiful conclusion to so many of the storylines of the series. It is possible that she could write more in this world. Maybe she could consider Bee's future, because Bee's still quite young in this story. But in another way, I kind of feel like Robin Hobb might well have tied the bow on the top of this and just take a break or do something completely different now. I don't know. There's not much I can say as far as plot goes without spoiling previous stuff, but it was amazing. It was the series culmination that you're always hoping for when there's a long-running series. But it was so emotionally hard. So I finished that, and there was still 4 days before the new Neal Stephenson was going to be released, and I was like, well, I can't start anything major. What am I going to do? I picked up a library book which I didn't really care one way or another about. It was The Scribe of Siena. It's turned out to be quite an enjoyable light read. It's a time travel story. A modern day neurosurgeon who has a brother who is a medieval historian who's working on the history of Siena in Tuscany in the plague. They're very close, and she is planning on taking some leave from her work and go and visit him in Tuscany because he's living in Siena. But then he dies. Anyway, she travels to Siena. They have no other relations, and so he had willed her all his stuff, including his house in Siena. And then not long after she goes there, she is mysteriously transported back to the time period that her brother Ben had been studying, which is just before the plague hits Siena. And so there's all this drama about the plague because she knows the plague is coming, and she's obviously got a medical background. And yeah, it was, and there's like a romance, and then there's, skullduggery, and she goes back and forth in time a couple of times, which is not especially well explained, but it's satisfying within the book of the story. So it's The Scribe of Siena. It's a debut novel, very enjoyable. The other thing that I read, because I finished that and there was still 2 days left, and I thought I have to find something short. I read Boy by Roald Dahl, which is a very short memoir. He's written a number of memoirs. This one just is about his childhood. Basically, it finishes just as he gets his first job, which he takes immediately after finishing school. And it's just a whole bunch of stories. It's just like highlight stories, like the big stories that you remember from your childhood. There are a number of things about corporal punishment in here, so that's a bit of a trigger warning. My 10-year-old son read this, I think, last year in school. I think they were doing it in class, so I'd read a little bit of it before, but yeah, it's quite short. If you like Roald Dahl, it's really quite interesting. It actually made me interested to pick up the next volume of his memoir, which is called Going Solo, I believe. And then I was done. I was through. I was finished. And I finished on the evening before the day that the book was supposed to be released. And so I kind of read a couple of short stories that night rather than starting a new book. And then the morning came and I was like, yay, I'm going to get my Neal Stephenson book. And I went to Kobo, which is where I get a lot of my books that I buy, because I'm not a Kindler, and it was still listed as pre-order, and I was like, what is going on here? And I went to the Australian publisher, and they're like, buy now, because it's release day, and then they had little buttons, so you couldn't buy it from them. They had little buttons to redirect you to the places you could buy it, but I'd go through them and they were still pre-order. And I was like, this is just too cruel. It's too cruel. But I don't know, sometime in the middle of the day it fixed itself, because I last checked it at 11 a.m. and it still wasn't available. When I got back to looking at it again, middle of the afternoon, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whatever, it was there, and I was like, huzzah! So I downloaded it and I read the very first couple of chapters while I was sitting in the cinema last night waiting for the movie to start, because the other thing I did this week is I went to see Wonder Woman last night, which was highly enjoyable. It didn't change my life. It's not the greatest movie I've ever seen, but I went to see it in the movie so I could see all the big action sequences up on the big screen, and I really enjoyed that the main character was a woman, that the fiercest person in the movie was a woman, that the evil mad scientist was a woman, and the comedy sidekick was also a woman. So 2 thumbs up, Patty Jenkins. I loved your movie. But then it was over and I had to rush on home so I could get into reading a bit more of The Rise and Fall of D.O.D.O, which I've read a little bit more last night and a little bit more this morning. It has everything. I'm about 14% through. It has a shadowy government conspiracy. It has time travel, dead languages, cats, broomsticks and witches, and quantum mechanics. So I have to get back to that. Love to hear what you guys are up to. I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!